distinguished guests, distinguished policymakers, business leaders, intellectuals from around the world. It's an honor to me to address this esteemed gathering. Also, I extend my deep appreciation to Mr. Chang Dai-un, founder of the World Knowledge Forum and chairman of Makeung Media Group, for creating this platform that fosters knowledge exchange and constructive transformation. And I thank all participants for constructive transformation, and I thank all participants in person and virtually for their contribution to this important dialogue. I stand before you as former Prime Minister of Egypt, former Minister of Housing, and an engineer who passed decades, more than 50 years of my life in construction, building, and mega project. And now I continue through a private office, Bayt Khebra. Bayt Khebra is the home of experts, one of the leading companies in the field of finance, investment, industry, insurance, and tourism. I always say that reconstruction goes beyond building, rebuilding, physical infrastructure. The reconstruction goes beyond rebuilding physical infrastructure. It embodies restoration of dignity, the creation of sustainable livelihoods, and the renewal of collective hope. At this critical juncture, Gaza is urgent need of the three. They need dignity, they need sustainable livelihood, and renewal of collective hope. At this critical juncture, Gaza is in urgent need of all the three. And Egypt, by virtue of its geography, historical role, and proven capacity, is uniquely positioned to serve the key for enabling such transformation. The problem in Gaza, let me highlight it. It is not only a political problem. It is a humanitarian problem. It is a humanitarian tragedy. The continued rise in tension signals a potential reshaping of the global order and presents the international community with a host of complex challenges that require balanced and thoughtful solutions, uphold security and stability without sacrificing the principles, openness, integration, and inclusive development that underpin the current global system. It is clear that the Palestinian cause is witnessing one of its most challenging phases. For nearly 2 years, the Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank have been subjected to systematic atrocities and violence. The Gaza Strip is being exposed to widespread devastation in a deliberate endeavor to limit the choice of inhabitants, displace them, and illegally expand the occupation of Palestinian land. The humanitarian tragedy in Gaza goes beyond imagination. If I give some figures, it is written 64,000 are going to death. Now I tell you, now it is more than, in 1 week, 67,000 people going to death. 170,000 now are injured. They lost a part of their bodies, and daily there are hundreds of people going to death and or injured. The number of wounded since the beginning of Israeli aggression in Gaza, while an unknown number, we don't know, our victims remain under the rubble. It is a fact that we don't know exactly how many are under the rubble. The scale of destruction in Gaza is horrible. Gaza lies buried under more than 50 million tons of rubble because it is completely devastated. 50 million tons of rubble. The International Labour Organization words that unemployment has risen to 80%. And now it's more than 80%, more than 80%, they have no job, nothing. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs reports that 97% of Gaza's water is unfit. There is no water. There is no water to drink. There is no sewage. There is nothing for human consumption. More than half of Gaza's hospital, are either destroyed or out of service. I can assure you now that there is nothing for medical service, nothing. There is no instrument. Even they are making surgery without anesthesia. There is no one. The schools, no schools since 2 years. The children are not going to school. All the schools are devastated. And according to the United Nations, Gaza is now facing famine, which is the first such declaration ever in the Middle East. People endure a catastrophic level of hunger because they closed the border. We cannot send aids. There is no food. And now they are making some collective places for distribution of food. During this period, when they are distributing food, they are shooting them. They are trapping them and shooting them. This is not just a crisis. It is a humanitarian catastrophe unfolding before our eyes. From March until August 2025, humanitarian aid to Gaza was completely cut off. In those long months, a lifeline was served. According to the United Nations, Gaza is now enduring famine, not as a distant statistic, but a daily torment for men, women, and children whose only crime being trapped in this tragedy. It is a really that should pierce the conscience of humanity. It should pierce the conscience of humanity and weigh heavily for every heart that still have and feels compassion. Really, when a human being cannot find food, it feels compassion. Egypt convened the extraordinary Cairo Arab Summit on March 4th, 2025. And the decision was the construction of Gaza without displacing people. This is the most important. We are rejecting, we are refusing, we are not going to hear about something about displaced people. This was a decision of the Arab Summit. From the outbreak of Gaza crisis in October 2023 until 1st of August 2025, Egypt intensified its humanitarian efforts to support the affected population. 35,000 trucks carrying more than 500 tons for various aid entered through the Egyptian crossing as part of large-scale mobilization involving all state institutions and civil society. 80% of the aids are coming from Egypt, 80%. And of the aids that reached Gaza since the beginning of crisis has been Egyptian. And although the total global assistance reflecting Egypt's commitment and support for the Palestinian people amid dire humanitarian conditions. I should quote something maybe President Sisi mentioned clearly. If Israel succeeds in including normalization agreement with all Arab states, if they succeed to do this, with all Arab states, permanent, just, and comprehensive peace in the Middle East will remain elusive unless Israel ends its illegal occupation and Palestinian state is established, and a Palestinian state is established in accordance with the international legitimacy. This is very important. We have to have two states, one for Israeli, one for Palestinian. Without this, there is no peace in the Middle East. The situation in Gaza is catastrophic and unbearable, and the maximum possible aid must be provided to alleviate the suffering of Palestinian people. Under normal circumstances, the Strip needs between 600 and 700 aid trucks daily. Now, I think 10, 5, it is something unbelievable. Instead of 600, there are, give permission to 10 or 5, maximum 10 trucks to pass through Gaza. Since the events of October 7th, Egypt has been constructively engaged in its partner in Qatar and the United States to achieve 3 specific goals. First, to end the war. Second, to ensure the entry of humanitarian aid. And third, to secure the release of hostages. Today, I think every one of us noticed that there is an attack in Qatar. Qatar is a place where there are trying to solve, where there are working as mediator, they shoot them from Israel to Qatar. It is really unbelievable, and everything should stop. Egypt strongly condemns statement report made by the Israeli Prime Minister regarding the displacement of Palestinians from their land. We are rejecting this. Including through the Rafah crossing, this statement are viewed as part of the ongoing attempts to prolong regional escalation and deepen instability in order to evade accountability for Israeli violation in Gaza, both domestically and internationally. Egypt reiterates in its condemnation and rejection of any Palestinian displacement. No displacement for Palestinians, whether forced or voluntary, because they are pushing them from the north to the south, and they are pressuring to displace them. Egypt reaffirms that it will never partake in this injustice by facilitating the liquidation of the Palestinian cause or serving as a gateway for displacement, emphasizing that this remains an unchangeable red line, no displacement. I repeat, we cannot accept displacement of Palestinians. Egypt condemns Israeli Prime Minister's statement on forcing Palestinians out via Rafah crossing. Egypt calls for addressing the chaos Israel seeks to perpetuate its region. It's really, the region is perpetuating every day. They are now bombing Lebanon, Syria, Qatar, Yemen. The Middle East also is boiling. Moreover, Egypt underscores the international community's responsibility. It is also stresses that establishing a Palestinian state on the June 4th, 1967, border with Eastern Jerusalem as a capital. This is our goal. And now the general opinion is moving, and leaders must listen to the global public opinion. 38% of Canadians and 49% of Americans described Israeli military action in Gaza as a genocide. 63% of Canadians expressed support for recognizing the state of Palestine, even opposed by Washington or Ireland, or if trade negotiations with the United States were a risk. 45% of Britons supporting their government recognition of Palestine, compared to 14% who opposed, and 41% remain undecided. 81% of Israelis said that the United States is the most influential actor in the peace process, with Egypt ranked second at 44%. 50% of Israelis believe peaceful coexistence with an independent Palestinian state is not possible. 80% of Palestinians believe the war will not end without a complete Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. Let me highlight our roadmap for the reconstruction of Gaza and let me use some lesson from the world. In 5 steps, the first one is debris and removal and recycling. I mentioned that the debris is 450 million tons of rubble. Infrastructure networks, housing, social infrastructure, institution, and transparency. First of all, how to remove this debris? I think we have to recycle that debris and to use it in new construction or in roads and new construction. And the infrastructure network should be immediately, we have to find a lot of permanent and intermediate solution like mobile generators just to enter with infrastructure. Housing, we have to find shelter for those people. We have to think about precast units. We have to think about non-traditional way for construction. Social infrastructure, hospitals and schools. Also, we should prepare some temporary and precast social school and hospitals. And this is very important about the transparency and to govern the auditing, because we are going to spend a lot of money. This should be controlled because we have a very bad experience in some other country like Iraq. A lot of money was really was not done in the right way. The benefits for the regional benefits, when we are going to reconstruct and to go for peace, it brings stability to Sinai and the wider Middle East, reducing spillover of conflict. It addresses extremism by cutting off disappear as a tool of recruitment. It opens trade and investment, linking Gaza to supply chains across Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. It reduces migration pressures on Europe, allowing Palestinians to live with dignity in their house. Before that I close, I have something to add for some other point, but the time is pressuring me. I think Egypt is ready to be the key with Korea partnership. We are looking for schools that open futures. We are looking for hospitals that heal. We are looking to homes that protect, infrastructure and that connects, and trust that endure. Let me hope with you, peace should be now in the Middle East. This humanitarian crisis should affect every one of us. And believe me, Egypt is there. We are doing whatever we can do, and Egypt is really the key to Gaza. Thank you very much.